Welcome back to Punch Drunk Nerd, the podcast where three friends, three amigos, three bambinos come together, talk about nerd shit. My name is Luis Gonzalez, and with me is
Ed Bull. And that's when
do
you
I say my name too?
Yeah, you say your name.
I don't know. I'm not a regular. I thought you introduced me.
Oh yeah, typically I do introduce you, but I feel like now that you've been here for so long, I feel like you're just like, oh, you're a what's it called? A swinging host. You can just come in at any time.
Perfect.
You're no longer a guest.
No,
you know?
I basically live here now. I can just help myself to the fridge. There's no issues there. I live here. So perfect. Yeah. So Benny Watts. Hi.
Benny Watts.
Nice to
Benny
see everybody.
Watts is back for the third time, I believe. So that makes you,
This is the number 3.
So no more fancy introductions. No more being like, and today we have you just introduce yourself. Okay.
Oh, I love that. Perfect.
And
well, today we have Benny Watts, and he's wonderful.
But we're here to, usually we do talk about news, we talk about what we're into, but in this special episode, we're doing one thing only, Mission Impossible. Especially, we're going to talk about the last movie, The Final Reckoning, and then after all of that, we're going to do a ranking of all the movies, and I am terrified.
We are 3 rankers right here.
Top
rankers.
Ready to rank.
A trio of rankers. There we go.
But, Ed here, Ed's a big fan of 007, and Ed's a huge fan of Mission Impossible. Ed, I think you put a lot of heart, a lot of work into kind of figuring out what you wanted to talk about in this episode. I really want to pass it to you and to kind of let you lead the conversation.
Okay. I'm happy to do that. It's not like I expected it. You mentioned James Bond there. I will say, interestingly enough, I'm a late bloomer as far as Mission Impossible goes. I was not drawn to it when I was younger. I was kind of anti Tom Cruise when I was a kid, and I was telling you the other day, Louise, I was definitely more loyal to James Bond. I felt like you had to pick a side, and James Bond was that character for me, the action hero, stunts, gadgets, etc. And Ethan Hunt was the, I literally looked at it like that's the American guy, and So I don't have I'm not sentimental necessarily about Mission Impossible, but I am. I've become such an avid fan, especially in recent years. You could say maybe since Christopher McQuarrie came on board and started directing these films. Not that it was him in particular, but the movies themselves really started to raise the stakes every time. That might vary. People might have different opinions about that, but and genuinely, I believe it's become one of the most consistent and well done franchises. In at least
Tom Cruise and Chris McQuarrie locked in. There were, I think they had a past partnership, and then once they flew, they started flying. It worked for Top Gun Maverick. It worked for this. It's going to work for their future projects.
It's been one of those. It's one of those rare Hollywood team ups that just they know each other. They work well with each other. It just, and you see it on screen. They have the same goal, the same idea to bring these movies and give them the most energy and love that they can. And I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I'll mention it here for Benji too. That we are I listen to the Empire movie podcast, and they have spoiler specials, and they've done spoiler specials for the last 3 or 4 Christopher McQuarrie films, and in great detail. I'm talking about 3 to 6 hours sometimes, just talking breaking down these movies, and their process going into these movies is pretty insane. You basically improvising a story around the stunts that Tom Cruise comes up with, and they're especially for Dead Reckoning. Obviously, that was drawn out with the pandemic, but they really do. It is like a jigsaw puzzle that they just slowly piece together. They film a bunch of shit that doesn't even make it to the final cut, but that's just how they do it. And it's quite I don't know, bold. I feel like very few directors and very few studios would be willing to back that kind of relationship up. But
especially
somehow,
because Tom Cruise is constantly like every stunt he's doing like 1,000 times. It's like not just one time. He does it until he gets it right. This feels very like, Charlie Chaplin, like Jackie Chan era, where it's like they are spending time over and over and over and over and over again until they get that perfect movie shot. And that's what like I love about the movies too, is because it's like this is magic. Like, yes, we add VFX and do all these things, but Tom Cruise is working. He's, he says he's like studying about planes. He's learning about physics. He's learning about engineering. He's learning about every piece of the movie he wants to master and to use that to tell a story. And he's just like, I want to entertain people. And that's why this 100%. Is like such a, it's hard to look away sometimes when you see something that's happening on the screen with him. For me, at least. No, but I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, knowing also that it's happening because that's what they promote. It's like this is as real, to life as they can get it, without fluffing it up with CGI, which, of course they do a little bit here and there, but like the main focus of the frame is real. Like that's what's happening, and it's pretty awe-inspiring. But yeah, sorry, Benny, your thoughts about the franchise as a whole? Like, we're rambling on here.
Yeah, it's fine.
And that's it for One Strong Nerd this week. That's our ranking for Mission Impossible. It was fine.
It's totally fine. No, actually, Mission Impossible, for the last kind of, I would say, like, let's wrap it in a nice decade, has been one of my most anticipated action franchises. Every time there's an installment, I am eagerly anticipating it. I want to be there opening weekend. I want to see those stunts. And so I'm always excited for whatever is coming. The first Mission Impossible 1, when it came out, for me, that was like an adult film. It was more methodical. I can appreciate it now, but it's not, tonally, it's very different from the rest of the series. So it kind of exists on its own. It doesn't really find its footing until Mission Impossible 3, where J.J. Abrams comes in and kind of makes it into more of this blockbuster. Number 2, obviously, I don't want to jump the gun, but I'm going to just, without even talking to you guys, assume number 2 is at the bottom. If you surprise me, I'm excited for that. But that's my assumption because it appears on the bottom of most people's lists.
Right.
It just is kind of this outlier. It doesn't kind of work all together. It is very John Woo, but it's like, it's
parody. It's almost a parody of Mission Impossible.
Yeah, like him climbing the cliff is fun, but it's so over the top. It's not even close to what number 1. So it just feels incongruous. It's not gelling. It's not mixing. And it was number 3 where I was not excited to see it. I just was like, I'll go and see it. And I was just kind of like blown away. The action felt really rhythmic. And then Philip Seymour Hoffman as a villain was amazing. So that's kind of what locked me in. And then every subsequent installment was like, oh my God, it's amazing stunts. They're kind of escalating it. And then, let's not jump the gun. I love the franchise. It's definitely not perfect. I think it's almost batting kind of like, almost like 50, 60% around there, success. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. But I'm a big fan of the franchise. I'm a big fan of these collaborators. It's crazy that, Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise have worked on 8 films together. That's a heck of a lot as a collaborator. And they do really feel like kind of best friends. At CinemaCon this year, Christopher McQuarrie, I should say, got an award. And Tom Cruise was the person who came out and gave this big speech about what kind of person he is, how close they've become, how he relies on him so much. Would love to know more about like what Christopher McQuarrie thinks of the whole situation. But
he has nothing but great things to say. I think they're enablers for one another. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
They're also very thorough and cautious in everything they do. They do take it seriously. It's not just like let's just do this for fun. They are so methodical about everything they do. And I think Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise just understands film and storytelling, visually and otherwise. Again, like we're saying, through all these interviews that I've listened to, I feel like they're definitely they're up there with the Marty and Leo and other example insert here. But
yeah. No, I totally agree, and I think what their collaboration over the years, outside of even the Mission Impossible franchise, shows is that making movies is hard, and even though some things feel like genius, some things you can work just as hard and not quite stick the landing. Like Christopher McQuarrie, screenplay, The Mummy. Everyone loves The Mummy, right? 2017, he wrote that. That's a perfect screenplay.
Right.
Not so much. Kind of ebbs and flows. But then screenplay like Top Gun Maverick, he clearly has an idea of what the audience will respond to. But that doesn't mean that films are always going to work as a complete picture. And I mean, Christopher McQuarrie, he did 50% of the Mission Impossible films. It's a huge lead,
and without feeling, depending you guys' thoughts on this latest one, but it never felt stale. Like they always took it to interesting heights, and they always challenged themselves, at least with the action. Whether you liked where they were going with the story and stuff like that, but you could argue that each time he really brought something that kept the audiences engaged. And franchises will sometimes find their comfort director, i.e. Star Wars, J.J. Abrams. The man knows how to make a first movie, but God damn it if he comes back for a sequel.
The Harry Potter franchise too. They had the same
equally.
guy the latter half for. Even the Fast and Furious, at some point it was like 3 or 4 were made by the same, or like.
At a certain point it's easier. You find that flow, but Harry Potter is a perfect example of that not being a good match. But sometimes studios don't care what you think. But there you go. So let's get into it. But first, before we feel our thoughts out, I want to know what kind of screenings we went into.
Very nice.
Benny, you got to watch it ahead of time, I think before most screenings. I did see a somewhat advanced screening. I saw a Thursday afternoon IMAX showing. But what about you? What format did you see, Benny?
So I got to go, I was kindly invited to go see the film on the Paramount lot. So it is the Paramount Theater. I think it is a Dolby theater that they have there, that they're kind of in there. So the sound was impeccable. It was a beautiful screening, but it wasn't in the big IMAX dimensions. But I did see it a second time in IMAX, but it was Limax. And we all know that.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't the big one like they do here in LA. I actually saw it up in the Great White North. I saw it in Canada, in Toronto. I was visiting some friends, and so we went and saw it, and it was great in that format too. But I would put Dolby over the Limax experience personally. But
okay. All right.
Yeah,
I think if you have a true IMAX, you'll get that height. It's like wow, it really is a very immersive. Yeah,
I have to go very far out of my way to see true IMAX. It's maybe at least a 3-hour drive if I go to San Antonio to see it.
How Houston doesn't have a real IMAX is mind-blowing to me.
I know, and we're building another one, but it's not a real one. So alas, but you know what? I'm going to make do. I've had a great, these last, let's say 2-3 years, my IMAX journey has been wonderful. I love that movies are showing in IMAX. Is it a little bit more expensive? Sure, but I'm digging it. Especially movies like this, movies like Sinners, where they know what to do with the format. Like you definitely feel it a whole lot more as a experience. So, Luis, did you see it in IMAX?
No, yeah. So Sarah was very kind because I was like, Sarah, we got to watch movies this weekend because next weekend, well, I guess when this airs, There's going to be the Phoenician Scheme. There's also going to be Bring Her Back. The directors of Talk to Me, they got a new movie, and I was like, if we do not watch movies, we're going to get backed up, and I'm not going to see any movies. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, we gotta go. So I was like, can you please watch 3 movies this week? And I want to watch Mission Impossible, Bloodlines, Final Destination Bloodlines, and Lilo and Stitch. We watched 2 of the 3. And but I was like, I'm asking so much out of you. Typically, I'm like, we are gonna see this in IMAX. We're gonna see this in Dolby. Like, I'm pretty decisive about that. But she was so generous. I was like, just pick a movie and we'll just go. You know, like you're being so kind. I'll go anywhere. So I think I just saw like a normal laser vision AMC thing. Like it wasn't anything fancy. But I'll tell you what. When they were going into commercial, they dimmed the lights. I was like, what the hell is this gray ass shit? Why can't, like, it's not pitch black dark that when I go to the Dolby or IMAX, like you get those rich colors. I'm like, this is kind of washed out. However, I will say that did not stop my experience with Mission Impossible when we entered into a couple action sequences where I'm just like, you know, where my butt is just clenched. And I kind of forgot about we're not in Dolby and IMAX. Would I have loved to have been there? Of course. But like at that time, I got me locked in. So if we want to talk about like first impressions, I'm ready to go.
Take us away. You already revved up, Luis. Let's hear it.
Hold on. You told us formats, but were there snacks involved? I know you're a big fan of collecting popcorn buckets too. So tell me what. Did you get one?
I think we got Ben actually pulled one of your tricks, to be honest. So we got a big popcorn. We got a big popcorn, and I didn't do the popcorn trick, but there's another trick. So we got the big popcorn because I was feeling Tom Cruise. He was eating popcorn. I'm like, let's eat popcorn. We're in the movies, and I got two drinks. She got Diet Coke, and I got the cup for quote unquote soda. And then you know what? I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna fill this up with icy Slurpee, and that's what I was like, Ben does it. Doesn't get caught. You know what? I've been in this establishment for years. What are they going to do? And then I just made myself some Coke Slurpee and some cherry Slurpee.
Nobody cares. It costs them cents.
Nobody cares. And so
nobody cares.
Like, I'm slurping for this one. And then we did standard butter popcorn. And I had a good time. I had a little bit of an edible before, so I was chomping on popcorn throughout the whole thing. I was nom.
Was there any collector cups, collector tins?
No, I think I spent already a pretty penny on that. So I didn't want to. I have also not that much shelf space anymore. So I didn't collect a specific popcorn bucket. Did you collect a specific popcorn bucket?
Course, that was a setup for my show and tell.
Oh, God damn it. I just remembered mine. I need to go get it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So the lucky part of the screening at the studio is that they actually had a range of some of the popcorn tins that you could get just there for you to grab. And my favorite popcorn tin of all time is this one, where every side has a thing from the franchise.
I don't even like popcorn, but I want that.
It's just beautiful. It's
pretty great.
They're looking at those minimalist poster with the red. It's really, really fantastic. So this is top shelf collectible tin, but the one that is just crazy that I grabbed 2. I'm not going to grab just one. I'm going to grab 2.
If it's free, grab it.
Is this?
Yes.
No. Hold on. Where did you get that?
I got it from the studio screening. They had that there. This is a briefcase like thing. There's a place for your drink. Here. Yep, there's a place for your drink just in the side.
Oh, that's
right
brilliant.
there. And then you flick it up over here. You open it up. And it's like, well, there's not enough room for popcorn in there. Yeah, there is. Look at that. It folds out. It is a hell of a collector's item.
Can you get that in any theater, or is that specific for that place?
Honestly, I have no idea. But somebody made it. And what you'll see on the back, it's pretty nondescript unless... And bear with me here. I'm just going to give it just a little... we're ranking them, right? And, man, it takes a little bit of energy.
That's heat. You're rubbing the back of it, and you're revealing something.
Come on, we're so close.
Well, because the heat of the popcorn will it'll appear, right?
Well, I honestly think you just have to caress it with a certain amount of love that you would give to a significant other. But
You call that love?
and so I think
This
here we go.
briefcase
This
will
briefcase will self-destruct with a little fingerprint.
Oh, that's so
This
cool.
is so fun, but so silly.
I love it. That's so
I
awesome.
love that too.
But that's the beauty of any of these blockbuster films is when you're a fan, you get to enjoy all of these very capitalist consumer items at the bargain price, like $50, $60
Yeah.
okay,
Okay,
for just some plastic.
Don't make me. If I was a little bit like, I don't know, like this is. I'm seeing it on eBay right now. $120. What am I doing? You know, I can't.
Do not buy it.
Away.
Do not
Walk
buy it
away.
for 100. You can. I'll sell it to you for 100. There you go. Easy.
You know what? Maybe I'll take that deal. Do you want to go out and buy you some dinner? If you talk too, I'd love to take the other one off your hands. This is amazing.
Actually, true to Mission Impossible, I'm going to steal it from Benny.
Yes.
And then I'll sell it to you for less. How about
Oh my
and
God,
then
that's
once
very,
you've
very
stolen
cool.
it, my wife will be furious. She'll send me off to somewhere in the Arctic where I'll have to stay there. I'll have another wife.
Yeah.
That's
along
also anyway.
with me.
Spoilers.
Yeah, right. All right. Do you think you guys could babble for like 2 seconds while I go get my little bit of merch that I want to show?
Absolutely.
Of course.
I'm sorry. All right, talk.
Absolutely. No, this is exciting. I'm seeing it here for 119. I want it. AMC has a different kind of popcorn bucket. The popcorn bucket's like blah, but it has like this tumbler cup where it has these goggles that go on top of your drink. It's very strange. It feels like they just threw some goggles or like some what's it called? Just goggles on top of the cup. So this doesn't look too fancy.
It seems as there was like a lot of different places did a lot of different fun things. I think the briefcase was from AMC, I believe. They had that there, but then they also had a black tin one, and as I'm seeing the same tumbler as you. And then there's also like this, it's like this clear bomb looking thing.
Yeah, this is from Regal. They're just like, yeah, this is where the entity lives, right? I think that's what. I think maybe
so,
Ed has that.
yeah.
Let's see. And he has a.
Oh
no!
My goodness,
That is the best. No.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sick. I love that poster. I think
that's a great
I think the first
poster.
poster for Mission Impossible is perfect. It sets
Iconic.
the tone.
Very cool.
It's iconic. It sets the vibe. Like
It's a nice touch, calling back to that first one.
Yeah.
Um,
Everything has led to this.
but yeah,
truthfully.
you got that red that I guess you had there on your popcorn bucket. I like me a good IMAX poster. I can't hang them anywhere, but knowing that I have them
Makes you feel good.
makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And Sarah's just like, cool, add it to the box.
The pile.
Yeah. I have so many. But yeah, I wanted to show that off a little bit. All right.
Amazing.
Are we ready to dive into this
Let's
mission?
dive into it,
let's
baby.
dive.
All
I'm
right,
ready.
Luis,
Let's
I
Halo
was
dive.
I was gonna hand it to you.
Yeah, sure. So I've been watching the Mission Impossibles over again in preparation for this, episode.
Naturally.
I was like, I'm going to rewatch them. And thank God it felt like when I was rewatching the Avengers movies, all the Marvel movies before Endgame.
Yes.
When I watched Endgame, I was like, oh, yes, I'm so glad I watched all those Marvel movies because you felt like immediately a handoff, like, oh, I get it. Same thing with this movie. I'm so glad I watched it because I felt like there were essences and spirits of all these other movies, not just narratively in the story, but like little things that was in this movie. And also, to be honest, it's a little bit of a love letter to itself, which I think if you just jumped into this movie, I don't really know how you would feel about it. But for me, as somebody who literally just finished watching them and stepping in, I was like, I don't know if this works as like a movie, but I love it. And maybe it's made for someone like me or an audience who's already been invested in Mission Impossible. And it's like we're saying, quote unquote, goodbye. So, at first I was a little bit resistant to it. And then it just won me over. I know it was like a montage heaven at the beginning. And I was just like,
it really was.
But I don't care. Like I'm in the headset for it right now. So who knows? I'm really curious about future Luis, what he's going to think about it in a couple of years. But as of right now, I enjoyed it more than I did Dead Reckoning for sure. So I I had a blast. I thought there were a lot of tense moments, and I think that it really felt like this is impossible. You know, there are moments when I was watching, it's like, this is impossible. Like it just cannot be done. And so, especially the submarine scene, I was like, no, like all of this is impossible. So by the end of it, I had a good time. I'm glad I saw it. I would be willing to see it again on IMAX to kind of get that experience. Yeah. But I'm happy that I had a better experience with this than Dead Reckoning. So I'm going to hand it off.
Okay, we'll get more into our feelings about the other movies too as we go along.
Of course,
Benny, you've been hanging on this, and you've had the opportunity to see this twice now.
I have. Now, I'll say, when I saw it the second time, I mean, I have fun watching these movies, so that's a given. But this movie was less Mission Impossible, more Mission Implausible. Because I just did not buy the actual, they've gone so heavy in these last two films on the sci-fi element. And this film seems like it's carrying the weight of all the exposition that you need to really communicate just how crazy the situation is and how this is going to be world ending. And it feels like the other films, as you said, they have such a fun, improvised vibe to them where it's but it also has an organic feeling. There's not too much thinking you have to do. You can pick it up on the way and then you're just going on for the ride. Yeah. This one, especially for the first hour and 20 minutes, feels like such a slog on exposition. So the first time I'm just like, oh my God, let's get to it. And then when I had the expectation, of what I was about to see, I definitely had more fun with it. And I had more fun with Dead Reckoning the second time. Yeah. I kind of watched it through too. So once my expectations are out of the way, it's still a fun ride with one of the most incredible stunt scenes ever captured in an action film, because they've gone to the trouble of making sure it's real. Like the story that Macquarie and Cruz tell of, he had the idea and he wants to be on a biplane and he kind of wants to be zero G between the wings, and they had to go to these wing walkers, they call them, and the first wing walkers said, oh, no, you can't do that. It's impossible. And they went, well, thank you very much. And they just went to different wing walkers until somebody would teach him how to do it.
It's just, he is we're going to find a way,
Exactly. Which is, I'm a believer of that. There's always a way to accomplish what you need to do.
And
so if somebody's going to say no, it's just well, you're not the person I should be speaking to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think overall the film is a little bit of a mess, because I think it is struggling with the improvisational element and this kind of, it almost feels like studio notes, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
You need to put more of this information in for the audience. And
you have to remind them that this is technically a follow-up to a part one that they took away. Sorry,
but you're right. But also the most successful Mission Impossible movies for me personally is when Tom Cruise has a great counter to his character, a great villain, and this movie has an algorithm. So that just feels so lacking to me. God, I don't have the actor in mind who kind of takes the role of the villain, but he's almost like a side character because he's not the driving force.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. The villain, Gabriel, his character's paper thin. You could say that about a lot of the villains, throughout the franchise, but I do agree with you. Again, talking over you, we'll get more into details as we go along. But yeah,
no, but that's kind of my overall thoughts on the film. There's enjoyment to be had. There's amazing technical achievement in stunt work. I think the stunt Oscar doesn't come into play, and not next year, the year after. So I think this will miss out.
Is it really not this year
again?
Yeah, I think it's 2027. So. That's Unfortunate, but
That is unfortunate. But
yeah,
he
I
paved the
think
way.
I really
He
just
paved the
wanted a
way.
villain. I just
Yeah.
really wanted a villain to attach myself to, see that really those clashes. And unfortunately, the story of AI is just kind of, even though it's current, it's dull.
Yeah, this was Tom Cruise's war against AI. The whole plot. He was just like, yeah, they are the bad guys. This is what is going to happen to this world. And I would argue that I felt like they, some of the stakes, uh, the nuclear arsenals one by one falling into its control. It's a little bit intimidating, especially with the idiots that are running the world these days. It's just like, fuck, we're going to just hand them the keys, aren't we? You just take it. Here you go, the entity. It's all yours.
But also the time constraints seem so arbitrary, and like the fact there's like, oh, one's gone, another's gone. We've got 3 days, and we have a clock when we know exactly when it's going to hack into our system.
Yeah,
it's like the asteroid
We're just
issue.
going to sit here. We're going to sit here and wait. But
yeah, we're not going to find
it. Set to trust him. Okay, he's like, trust me one last time. So it's like the asteroid coming in. It's like, well, put the clock in. We got 72 hours and 30 minutes and 16 seconds before it comes. And then they turn it on.
Is that not what brings us back to Mission Impossible every time? It's the clock ticking, it's the end of the world possibilities. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's that basic framework that we all come back for. So I'm gonna give my quick initial thoughts. I kind of siding, with both of you. I feel like this one feels slightly different from the rest. It doesn't have that like caper quality to it, because it is taking itself so serious about where this algorithm is going, and and that's fine, especially when you're trying to build it up as this kind of final reckoning, the crescendo to a larger story. I do definitely believe, I agree that they bogged themselves down in that first at least third of the film with all that exposition and flashbacks. Every time it happened, after a while, it was just like, oh, here we go again. All right. And yeah, having just rewatched all of the movies, I was like, I don't need this. I'm all caught up,
Right.
But but I get it. I get it from like a selling point, for marketing, for audiences, all the things. Like, you want people to be on the same page, or have some idea.
It calls back to so many different things. It's hard to.
But it is very heavy, and I think standing alone, it doesn't work as well as I would like. It's not going to be one of those movies that you point to and just like, yeah, that was a great standalone Mission Impossible, which in part was, some of the issue of Dead Reckoning is because it felt like a part of a bigger thing, like but that movie definitely had a bit more fun, again, in the Mission Impossible sense. It did feel like very capery. There are a lot of chases and stuff. The action really doesn't kick into this movie until the second half, and I mean, it's well worth the wait. I'll say that much. So it does take a minute to get going, but you definitely feel the driving force and the stakes throughout. You have that bit in London where the team are getting together, but it is very like, whilst everything is always on the clock in Mission Impossible, it did feel very rushed. They were trying to like, okay, we got to get to here to grab them, to grab her. Getting all of the Mission Impossible stuff out the way to get to the bigger story, which is saving the world. And I kind of missed that a little bit. I loved the good mask reveal, which they did have, but it was minimal.
Yeah.
I don't want like copy and paste for each movie. I do want them to mix it up a little bit, and it does feel like they did that. My biggest problem with these last two movies are probably the demise of certain characters, which we'll get into. But I feel like overall it's definitely a worthy entry to a franchise that for the last, like we were saying, maybe over a decade has just been the franchise to keep on giving and raising the stakes, or at least making an effort to raise the stakes and provide like genuine entertainment, and you can't help but enjoy that. I think there, along with the incredible amount of exposition, they trying to tie some loose ends from previous movies into this as this is a consequence of this movie. Like they bring back the rabbit from Mission Impossible 3. It sometimes works, not really. What's that guy's name? The cop who's chasing him. Shea Wiggum. His character really did and listening to those interviews, it was more. I know that like Shea Wiggum went to Christopher McQuarrie. It was just like, I want to be in these movies, and he was like, all right, I'll try and pencil you in, kind of thing, and grew that character from that.
Oh, what a move!
I know, right?
I want to be in a movie. All right,
sure, fuck it. And then more so, this movie felt just like reaffirmed the fact that his character was unnecessary. There's a little bits of that speckled throughout, but overall, when the action that we all came in for kicks in, it's 100% worth it. It almost, like, one action sequence almost feels like a horror movie. The second action sequence is like, as much as they were marketing, it still felt shocking and breathtaking, literally. Especially again in the IMAX, but I'm glad you felt it in the regular screen too, Luis. But just like edge of your seat stuff, and it was a nice little wrap up potentially of the whole franchise. We'll see. I don't know, but I definitely had a good time with it. I think we share similar qualms with a lot of it, but I think the overall thing was it's a very entertaining movie. And again, these guys are doing what so few studios have the time or patience for, most people are just going to, we'll fix that up in post, kind of thing. They really do strive for excellence as far as trying to deliver entertainment. So I think this was a solid entry, and definitely better than some others, which we'll get into.
I think it's tough because it's like it's quote unquote the last movie, and it has to fall under the weight of like, okay, it all leads to this. This is very serious, and so everything plays a little bit like overly dramatic, and you lose
kind
a
of
little
like
bit of that.
Endgame. Like the expectations are never higher than when you're entering into a final chapter of something. So like if it doesn't hit that mark, people are going to be just like, oh well, I didn't quite hit like I wanted it to, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a very fine line as far as entertainment goes. It works, but like if you were to pluck this out and say like, hey, stand alone there for a minute, Final Reckoning, what do we see this as? Like, but as a continuation, mostly works.
Yeah, it's like they're really talented craftsmen, but unfortunately for me, in this installment, it's just like the story is lacking, the villain element is lacking.
Absolutely.
And so it just, the things that don't go right, that's what, when we get to ranking them, knocks it down as it goes. And they just felt like they themselves were prisoners of having to hit these beats instead of having the freedom of a mid-franchise movie where they can be like, we can just do the stunts. We're not beholden to making this the final installment. We don't have to ratchet it up to the most extreme possible outcome. We can just have fun, keep it contained, and do an entertaining experience. And this just felt like it had so much to accomplish.
Like we really have to. This is really important, guys.
Yeah,
really
to give it, to give it some credit, I will say that they, we were talking about the James Bond franchise, the end of the Daniel Craig era. Those last few movies, they really pushed that narrative that everything was connected. And see, this is what all your sins have brought you to, James. And like now you're going to die. It is you fucking the Quentin Tarantino effect. You put all that pressure on that final movie, and then it ultimately is going to falter a little bit. So yeah, 100%. I think they had it just stood alone as just like the next mission. I think maybe it could have worked a lot better. I get again they want to mix things up. They wanted to give you an enemy that didn't bleed, something that really mankind has already failed to kill Ethan Hunt, so let's leave it to technology, kind of deal, I guess. I'm playing the devil's advocate here. But yeah, it's definitely a tough one to sell whenever you're hyping it up as that final chapter.
It's also crazy that this is a part 1, part 2, and these two are the longest Mission Impossible movies in the whole franchise.
Yeah.
Like 245, we're almost hitting like 6 hours, under 6 hours with one story. And when other Mission Impossible movies were able to do it in 2 hours, and so it's like.
But if they cut down the time, Louise, all you're going to have is stunts. You're not going to get that crucial exposition.
Flashbacks.
You want to know what's going on. Why is he on the plane?
Honestly, if we just jumped into Final Reckoning, I would have been like, I'm fine. I get it. We're here. Let's move on. Like, I didn't really need all that, what happened in Dead. I was like, we're following into the middle of a scene. Like, anyway. Okay.
It also brought about some feelings because obviously they were tying, and let's dabble into some like real spoiler territory here. This is the culmination of the whole franchise. You got franchise regulars in Ving Rhames coming back as Luther. We've got Simon Pegg coming back as Benji. But as a whole, I did feel like the team feels kind of empty. Like, Luis, I don't know if you remember, but I had like a few issues with what's her fucking name?
Hallie Atwell.
Yeah, Hallie Atwell. Just because it felt like they were trading one stiff upper lip Brit for another stiff upper lip Brit, and
kinda, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the biggest problem with Dead Reckoning is like you've got Haley Atwell, you've got fucking Rebecca Ferguson, and then you've oh god, what's her name? Mrs. Fantastic coming up, Vanessa Kirby.
Yeah,
and I was just like, come on, it's either Christopher McQuarrie or like Tom Cruise who have a type happening here. But let's like mix it up a little bit. But let's definitely not trade one out for the other, which were my biggest hang up with Dead Reckoning is the death of Ilsa, who was becoming one of my favorite characters. And it definitely, like, her absence definitely, I felt in the Final Reckoning. And it felt like the team was kind of empty. It's a bunch of new fucking faces. That cop guy who was with Shea Wiggin.
I was like, who? I saw him in interviews.
Degas, Greg Tarzan Davis.
Yes.
I think they pronounce it Degas.
I was like, where did he come from? Is he like officially part of the team? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're a cop, man. Fuck off. You're not IMF. So, however, I was really glad to see Palm Clementieff. I think that's how you say her name. Because I loved her in Dead Reckoning, but even her character felt a little more toned down. I mean, granted, she came to the good side, but man, give her a badass moment at least. And I found out Haley Atwell was pregnant during the shooting of this, which explains why it felt like her character and her action was a little pulled back a little bit, just like pull a gun here, but under a big coat. So, little bits of that, where, the big emphasis on the team and Ethan trying to protect his team and yada, yada. I felt like we could have maybe done away with the Haley Atwell storyline and held on to Rebecca Ferguson. And I know Rebecca Ferguson wanted out because, these movies take a lot of time. to film, and you never know when you're going to be called up on set or for a scene or a stunt or whatever, and it could be months of waiting all the time you're missing other movies that you could be a part of. So it's a mixed thing, but like I felt that absence. I don't know about you guys going into it.
Yeah, look, I definitely. Well, I mean, I know the fact that Rebecca Ferguson didn't come back was her kind of choice. She chose to do a different production, so they had to figure out ways around that. And whenever somebody signs up to any of these movies, they have to make a decision: are you going to be committed to this for however many years, or do you want to go and do like a series of television where you can do way more content for the same amount of time? But Haley Atwell was like fine. It's hard because I wasn't a fan. I wasn't the biggest fan of Dead Reckoning. Going into here, I was just like, all right, well, we're here. I don't think we're going to fix any of the problem. They're basically one movie, the longest movie of the franchise. They just arbitrarily cut it at one of the stunts and then just kept going for a second part. But man, oh man, did I have... It wasn't so much the cast of characters, even though it was one of the weaker ones out of the franchise. It was just these moments I'm like, I just kept going, what does that even mean? Let's I know you brought him up, but Briggs, the guy, this cop guy who's, I clearly we're in spoiler territory, but so we got Shea Wiggum, he plays Briggs, who's the son of I can't remember the character's name from the first, the villain from the first one.
Yeah, John Voight.
Right.
Yeah,
John Voight's character from the first one, right? And so we don't even need that storyline. It's not. We're already really overblown. I don't know why that's going to bring it together.
It changed nothing.
But also, at the end, what a fucking move when he goes up to him when he's realized he's actually a good guy. No. Why you have your gun out at all, I'm not sure. But to point it at him and then just put it away, like, what are you doing? Oh, yeah. Why would you point the gun at him at all? Just go in with a handshake. And then, they change it.
Yeah.
It's like he just raises the gun. What? Did you want to, if he was that kind of character where he's like, gun? Yeah, nah, I get it. But he's not. He's a really self-serious character. And then they go as handshake, you've got my respect. No, you're my brother. And they go into that predator, hands clasped, real bros handshake. That was, we all laughed in the theater because it just seemed like, why would you raise your gun if you're about to shake his hand? And then one of the biggest in regards to the actual mission itself is that wonderful, very powerful thumb drive that they carry around, the 5D optical drive, which he pulls that out and immediately somebody knows what that is, even though none of them have ever existed in the world. Then the one place they have to go has a port for this brand new drive that's never existed before. Why? How is that possible? It's self-glowing? Why? It's not a fucking magical crystal. Blew my mind. And I'm like, what are you doing? You've just said stuff at the screen and we're all like, yes, that's definitely a thing that would definitely exist. Yeah. I'm like, I would make sense if they're like, okay, make it look like a drive. Don't make it look like some fucking magical thing that's going to heal me.
Infinity Stone or a Tesseract or something.
And then fucking jerry rig it into the system. Not like, oh, well, that's convenient. Click.
Makes it easy for Haley's character to just swipe away instead of,
man. Hey, the... the fact that that's her action moment, I'm just like, yep, all right.
I'm just reading the instructions on this optical drive. Oh, if I put anything on it, it glows forever. Okay, great. All right, perfect. That's all I need to
grab it real quick. Just real quick there. Man.
Is there a setting to turn off my optical drive? Because this is very bright.
To a point, it did feel like, and again, they do this in every Mission Impossible. It's like they go down the checklist. It's like, all right, we need the bomb, we need the timer, we need the thing that's preventing us from just cutting the wire on the bomb. Like, we have to take care of this before we can do this, but we can't do this until this happens, and so on and so forth. Like that's all it felt like. But at that point, at least for me, like the tension was so palpable, where I was just like, oh god, I don't want Simon Pegg to die. That sure as fuck ain't happening. If it does, I'm gonna be mad. Tom is on a plane. They don't have comms, of course. Naturally, why would they have comms? And then you've got the guy and his wife who they brought back from the first movie, and like, it's not fair to kill him too. Like, so don't kill him. And then you don't want to. I mean, you don't care if the cop dies. Like, if he sacrifices himself, okay, yeah, let's really make this a final reckoning. Let's kill the useless characters. Let Shea Wiggum die. Like, why the fuck didn't they kill him? Or
also,
Kittredge,
why was Luther? Was Luther sick or something? Did you guys find out why
that was
he was
the
like?
implication.
But that wasn't really explained why or what was happening. I feel like it just like randomly.
So, yeah, at first I thought like, oh, okay, because he's had to shut himself off from the world in order to build this drive against the algorithm without it finding him doing that stuff. Let's just say it. I feel like Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise have been aware of Ving Rhames' physical limitations for the last 3 or 4 movies. He's not exactly running like Tom Cruise is down a street. You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, let's tie him to a bed. Let's put a bomb next to him.
He has a nurse taking care of him. I was like, wait, it's that intense that he needs a nurse?
Yeah. That nurse service is great. I mean, they send nurses down to these underground basement of London, no questions. Oh, and they get the whole hospital room down there too. So that's, I mean, is Luther doing that on his own? Do they pay people? Like, there's some, of course, that Gabriel finds him. So clearly he just went to the hospital records and where did they send that bed? Oh, to the underground. Great.
To the underground, yeah. Gabriel is a little bit annoying. Talk about pestilent villains, but just like at the end, of course we all wanted to get to the biplane, but like when he was just like, you're gonna have to chase me, Ethan, I was just like, you can't.
Okay, but how good was his death scene though? He was like, I'm the only one who has the back, whatever, and then he
and I thought it was and you think like, oh, that's almost cartoonish, but then you look back at a lot of the villains' deaths in the franchise, and they are all very kind of cartoonish. So,
but also, doesn't he say he's like, oh, it's like I've got the only like parachute. So my expectation after he died was Tom Cruise like, oh shit, I got to go after him. But no, he finds another one.
Yeah, I know that was weird too. I was like, wait a second, didn't you just set up that there was one left? Yeah.
Yeah. we all
I do just like, and here's the thing is like I like you said, I enjoyed Dead Reckoning a lot more the second time and subsequent times of viewing, and I feel like Final Reckoning will also kind of have that. I feel like there'll be maybe a lot more to pick up on, and I mean, Benny, you already have seen it twice, but yeah, I feel like I mean, obviously they're throwing so much at you all at once. It is hard to keep up with all of it. It's drama everywhere. You got Nick Offerman. Spoiler alert: Nick Offerman's in this movie.
Barely.
And spoiler alert: he dies for the country. His president. So yeah,
maybe he was going to shoot himself. We don't know.
I thought that too.
Exactly. Yeah. And maybe that was the misdirect. He's like he knew shit was going to go down in the final moments, even though he seemed to be like opposing the president. I don't know. Yeah, gosh. Let's talk about these action scenes though.
Mm-hmm.
Like why we came to the theater for this shit. First off, let's get the biplanes out the way because we're already talking about it. But I mean, it was fucking great.
I mean, thank goodness Gabriel brought two. I mean, if he hadn't have brought two planes,
I have a backup one. Yeah,
but also like to have the forethought to make sure they're different colors, so at least we as an audience can track who's in which plane.
Yeah, I was also no shit. Thank you, visual storytelling. I'm thinking it just occurred to me now. Like, who was that older guy supposed to be? Who was flying alongside Gabriel?
Oh.
The oldest executive assistant you've ever met, and
it was just like, "Hey man, hey Gabriel, I like your style, man. Can I tag along?"
But it's also like, we came together. Can we share the same plane? This is just a backup plane. We don't need to take.
It's not necessary, right?
Yeah.
There's 2 seats in that one. Let's go together.
Well, maybe they took it because they didn't want they didn't want Ethan Hunt to take it and then follow.
Then why bring 2 planes? Why?
But I will say, I think it's funny when like people are flying a plane and they look and they're like, "What the fuck?" And then Ethan Hunt's like hanging on the side, like, "I'm here." You know, I think those like double take moments were really funny to me. I mean, I didn't spoil myself with the biplane stuff too much. I felt like I was pretty distant. So I only saw an interview before the movie and how like they spent hours and hours on the biplane and he would be on it and then he would like take a rest. He would have mouth signals to Christopher McQuarrie. Like, this meant I need to take a rest, like a 5 or 10 minute rest. So he would fly, and they said they couldn't land the plane until he was in the cockpit. So literally if he was exhausted and he was on the wing, there's nothing he can do except wait it out until his muscles re-energized again from resting. And then he would have to work his way. So like, knowing all that to me was all fucking crazy. Like, I can't believe a real human being, especially at his age, gives me hope. I'm like, okay, I could do that.
It doesn't give me hope. Really. I'm like, I'm already out of shape. You know, I'm not about to turn my life around.
I think it's insane to see the like literally gravity and physics of it all happen. It's the same idea of like Top Gun Maverick when you're seeing people's faces and the way like just physics is working. You're like, oh yeah, this is. I don't know.
It's not photoshopped. It's intense. Yeah, right. You feel that pressure. No, 100%. It really does put you in it, which again just makes it so remarkable. I like that moment where the plane, I guess, it was like spinning around, but because of like gravity and like the pressure, the speed that they were going at, like Tom Cruise was basically sitting upright on the wing. I was just like, oh my fucking god! It's just like it's nuts, man, and it's relentless for so long. Of course, like chopping back and forth with everybody else that's doing their own thing, but like, man, it's palpable. It's just so. I don't envy him, but like, damn, he does it. He fucking does it.
What was interesting is that a few years ago at CinemaCon. He did a video message to everybody there. It's about 3,000 people. And he's on the plane. So clearly they were shooting this sequence then. And he does this whole stunt just for the 3,000 people. Like, he will put his body on the line for even the smallest audience that it could possibly be made for. Like, he's standing on this plane and then it just like,
I remember that.
We need to get back to filming, and they're like,
we'll see you for Final Reckoning or whatever.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
So I just and it's I even the appreciation of those stunts, which are incredible. It's just when I the ultimate goal is just, and it is great. It's technically but I am feeling like, man, this stunt was for this story. When it's right. I guess it's the stunt for stunt's sake. I mean, we can all do a demo scene and put it on IMAX or something like that, but it's still got to hold itself together.
It's like the bike scene from Dead Reckoning. You know what I mean? Where it's like when I saw that thing so many times that when it finally happened
before the movie,
like, I was like, this is it. Like, you know what I mean? This, I don't know. I always, I don't know. I didn't really jive with the. Okay, we're talking about Final Reckoning though, and then there's also the.
The Sevastopol.
Yes, Sevastopol.
Yeah.
Which is
the promise of the first movie. That's, the closing shot is of that submarine. So we finally get down there after much ado. What do you guys think? Could I say real quick, on the IMAX screen, Louise, that moment where Tom Cruise enters into the chamber of the American sub, and they fill it up with water before he's lets out. That as he's cranking that device or whatever to let the water in, that's when the screen started expanding.
Oh, that's really cool.
That's really fun.
It's just like with each click. So that was kind of cool. Like
wait, so it was like the movement of the screen going up like with the click.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That was cool. That's
pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, what a fucking sequence! I almost feel like this is my favorite sequence of the movie, the Sevastopol dive.
I mean, I was pretty tense about it too. It pulled me in. I was like, this is crazy. I mean, yeah, it's very. I was like, it's impossible, and then Ben's like, it's improbable. But I mean, Ethan Hunt manifests and he gets it done, you know. And I think it was just like, how the hell is this man doing all of this? I mean, look, did it make me feel? It did. So, do I like it? Yeah, I guess. You know, so.
I mean, I was just like clenching my butt the whole fucking time, and at the end of it, like whenever he got out, oh no, I think it was like on the biplane. Actually, one guy was just like, "Oh yeah, thank God," just like,
oh my goodness,
yeah, it's just like taking that breath in, you know, because you're just like the whole time. But man, yeah, just like felt like a horror movie. The moment he enters into that sub, it's so eerie. Underwater scenes like that feel like tangible like that always get to me. Like just not being able to see 10 feet in front of you is terrifying. And then you get into a sub, somehow manage to get the power up. And
I love it when he gets out of the sub, and then the Russian sub is like following right there, and he's just like, "Oh,
yeah!"
And I liked that surprise and that moment.
Yeah,
I really love everything leading up to the Sevastopol. Like when he's flying in, and he's not sure if the other submarine, the American submarine, is going to be at the location where they need to be, and yet he just goes for it and jumps. That's a really fun jump. They film it like great. I don't know where they did that. I doubt in the ocean because it needs to be a little bit more controlled than that. But that just really feels fun. And then when you see the divers almost pop up behind him like a horror movie, that was like, oh my God, that was awesome. So I love all the people on that sub. I thought it was a really great cast of characters. I think Tremel Tillman, who plays the captain, such a fun delivery. Like just so deadpan and yet charming and funny. So he was really wonderful. And so I'm really getting into the scene, and then the hand-to-hand combat that he does with somebody who's on the AI side. Which okay, sure. You know, like great. And then I love the Tom was like, wait, what's happening? Like he's like confused why he's attacking him. He's like, I don't know what's happening here.
Well, they have that line of dialogue earlier on. Is like, they've got infiltrators everywhere.
Yeah,
kind of like in the president's office.
You would hope that professional like servicemen will be a little bit more
loyal,
instead of like, you know what, that world destroying AI has a point. So
I mean, we do live in a very interesting world where you think people can't be thinking that, and then they're like, well, I guess they are, and then I'm just like, at this point,
like, that guy probably shouldn't have had that job on that super secret submarine. But then, as you're saying, like when they get into the chamber and it's filling up and the anticipation's building, and you open the doors and there's the other sub, and it's so menacing that it's just kind of like tailing the American sub. And then he makes the dive, and just that scariness of being out in just the open water, and he has to find the sub in all of that. When he gets to the sub, great. I do think that sequence felt a little long to me. I was like, okay. There was a few too many nuclear missiles, that were just kept falling down. I was like, we could have got through that.
Also, why didn't he take off his mask when he was like, or stop the oxygen from running when he was like not underwater. Do you know what I mean? Like when he's in the submarine.
Hey,
like
you don't know what's going to go
like,
down in a sub. You don't know what's going to go down. You got to be ready.
I was just
you
like,
don't want
you
him
have very little
fumbling for his
oxygen.
mask.
I would not have taken it off for a second. I was just like, no, yeah, I'm going to keep every layer of protection on me. The fact that he has to start, of course, he has to start stripping down when he tries to go into the torpedo chute. I'm just like, oh man. Yeah, no, 100%. I'd be keeping everything on as much as possible. As claustrophobic as it felt or whatever, but like, and just like having that light in his mask would have been a comfort to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, I'm okay. If everything goes pitch black, I'm fucked. And I'm just like, no gun to bang bang. But yeah, I mean, what they do so well, the two of them, is just like laying out those breadcrumbs for these action sequences where they're going to show all these elements that he's going to battle through coming back out. So like, yeah, we go through the torpedo room and it's starting to roll and things are coming unhooked and whatever, and then the water's flooding in. It's one thing after another, and then sure enough, he has to go back through it. But they did that in Dead Reckoning, Fallout, all of that. But it was immense to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure of when it happened for me, but I did, and maybe it was just because of the length, but I got taken out of movie brain and went into logic brain. And so as the thing started turning, I was like, well, the sub is, when you're doing the external shot, seeing the sub spinning, I'm like, well, that's spinning faster than it's spinning inside for him. And I'm like, okay. So like, I just started picking it apart. I didn't want to, but my brain was like, that's spinning faster than that. All right, that's not that. And I'm like, how deep is he? Because I felt like he was traveling down to find it for quite a while and the pressure was building and building. And then it falls off the cliff as he's coming out of the torpedo? What is that?
Shoot.
Hatch? Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Great. And now he's getting dragged down and it's going quick.
It's going very fast.
It's a huge, heavy sub and it's dragging him. And he's like, okay, no mask. And then he's like near the surface, like after like 30 seconds. I was like, it took him forever to get down there.
I know. I did think about that too. It's like, you could barely make it if you left at the level you were supposed to leave, right? Now, the fact that you were getting dragged down even further, that's when I was like, you're dead. But I think what happened is Haley Atwell's character went down as well. And I think they met, and they must have met in the middle. Is the way it's my headcanon works. Is how there's no way he went all the way up to the top. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
That's what they show. You can't imply something they didn't show.
Well,
they show him get to the thing and then like lay. They flip the shot and he's laying on the underside of the ice, which he couldn't hold his breath. They told that because his whole friggin' lungs would explode. So whatever that distance is, he has to be consistently exhaling to when he's just at the ice. It's insane. And that's where the implausible of Mission Implausible comes in.
It's not Mission Implausible, it's Mission Impossible.
There's only one way to find out. We're just going to all have to go back and watch it again and boost its box office.
That's incorrect. There's only one way to find out. We're all going to have to go deep sea diving and we're going to have to go real low.
We're going to have to rehearsal Nathan Fielder this shit,
Yeah. Awesome. Right. Do we have any other thoughts? Or?
I kind of want to go into the ranking now. I feel like we're ready to talk about these other.
Oh yeah, we can rank away.
Let's have some. Do you want to do a ranking, or do you want to do some like quick questions, like quick fire answers?
I want to. I mean, it's up to you. What do you want to do? I like the ranking. I feel like we're going to talk about all these moments during the ranking, like as we talk about these movies and why we like them. Those things will kind of kick off. I'm
gonna highlight it as we go along. Then,
perfect.
All right, sounds good. All right, you want to
go last?
But
you want to go last? I'll go last. You go last.
I'm leading this time. So
yes, okay, that's fine. I totally agree with that, and I'm here for it. I'll go first because
okay.
Right, we'll put Ben in a little sandwich here.
Yeah. All right, so 8 to 1, 8 to 1, right? And we're going to take turns?
Yes, we'll take turns.
Okay.
I gotta say, this is probably one of the most difficult
If
rankings
you say
I've had.
Dead Reckoning, I'm gonna smack you, motherfucker.
This is probably one of the most difficult rankings I've ever had. I think there were some I was like, yep, you're number one. Yep, you're over here. And then it was like things in between. I was like, I don't know where. Like literally 6 was 2, 2 was 5, 4 was 3. Like it wasn't until before this podcast I was like, I think this is where I'm going to have to land. So I think it just shows that every part of this franchise has something that, you know, can give you. It's just like they're really good at this. They're really good at that. So whatever mood you're in. So anyway, okay. All right, my number 8.
Swear to God, Luis, just say Mission Impossible 2, please.
Yeah,
What do
this
you
is a
got?
movie I just felt like I couldn't believe like some of the dialogue, and it was just like, oh my God, this feels so forced at times. But it had one really good action sequence in it. And what the action sequence was, he was in a little yellow car and he was driving around. Yeah, my number 8 is Dead Reckoning. I did not like this movie. I think it's kind of a slog, to be honest. I rewatched it. I think I appreciate it a little bit more. But man, when they're in the airport, I do not give a shit about what's happening. I hate the scene when they're, what's it called? He's looking for Rebecca Ferguson. That doesn't feel like exciting to me at all. And then there's so much like, I don't know. People are just exposing at me. But when we get to that car chase scene, I'm like, this fucking rocks, you know?
That's like good old fashioned Mission Impossible.
And the fact that he's really driving it himself and you can see the fear in Haley's face, I'm like, whew, I feel it too.
It's like one of those great comedy action bits.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
And you got Pom Klementieff like staring at them when she can't get out to spin, but she's in. It's so many great moments.
He's like, I swear to God, this doesn't usually happen. You know, it's okay.
Just like, okay. All right.
Or when the car flips down the Spanish steps and then they like switch places, they're like, wait, what?
And, you got Tom Cruise who's just like genuinely scared in his seat, and he's like, "Oh, that's a person. That's a person."
I'm sure we'll talk about this movie more, but listen.
Yeah, we are.
I like all of them. So here we go. Number 8, Dead Reckoning. Go ahead, Ben.
All right, Benny.
Number 8 is Mission Impossible 2. Obviously, like the fact that it's not Luis's, which is fine. Did you see Mission Impossible 2 when it came out, Luis?
Oh, love this story. So, the first DVD I ever bought was Shanghai Noon. The first DVD that we had in our house that I could remember was Mission Impossible 2. Okay. So I don't know if I saw it in theaters, but I saw it on DVD, you know, and I saw it.
Great. I thought your story was going to end with the first DVD we bought was Shanghai Noon. Anyway, so years later, I saw. I was like, "Oh, okay."
No, it was like I just remember this DVD
film.
case constantly being there. It's like, oh, Mission Impossible 2. But is that what you're asking me about? When did I see it? I
was curious of like when it came into, because when I saw it when I was very much younger, like when it first, because I saw it as a rental.
Yeah,
even as a rental, and I loved action movies. I was like, this is boring. Like as a kid, I found it boring.
Yeah.
Like that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
And so I've had no interest in rewatching it. And it just feels like this forgotten memory of this franchise.
It's very different from the rest.
And that's why it's number 8 on my list. And it should have been on yours too.
I 100% agree with Benny. Mine is also number 2. You know, today as kind of like a last little, jog to the finish line, I went through each movie because the one movie I didn't rewatch was number 2. Because it is just a fucking joke. The dialogue, you were talking about dialogue, Luis. Good God. Dougray Scott, he's up there with the worst of villains. He like the guy is like breaking down in tears nearly every scene for some reason. It's an odd film. And, it's scored by Hans Zimmer, but it's like one of the worst scores ever, too. But again, very much of the time, I don't know, but like it felt like it was made in the height of the Matrix frenzy, and everybody was trying to do cool slow-mo action scenes. God, it's awful. That's all I gotta say, really. I mean,
if I want to talk about the villain just really quickly in regards to poor old Doug Ray. Imagine somebody gives you 2 lottery tickets. One is a losing ticket, one is a winning ticket. That's a 50-50. And you choose the losing ticket, and you are in Mission Impossible 2 instead of the other ticket, because he was cast as Wolverine in the original X-Men, and he passed on that to do Mission Impossible 2, which then, for all of our benefit, we got Hugh Jackman, and that was his absolute huge launch, which is now he's one of the biggest stars in the world. But that's crazy that this movie derailed Doug Ray Scott's entire career. Yeah, that's crazy.
He was also in talks for Aragon at some point, but that may have been before all of that. But thank God that didn't happen either. So there you go. All right, moving swiftly on to Mission 7.
Okay, so my ranking for number 7. I've lost my list here. Okay.
But you take a deep breath, because if it's not number 2, you got a whole wave of hate coming at you.
Oh my God, Luis! How is this?
Let me just say something here real quick.
Oh no, it is. It's not number 2.
This could have been. This movie. It's here. It honestly, maybe it shouldn't be here, but it is.
Agreed.
And I realized as a person, I'm different than everybody else. Okay.
Oh boy.
Just say the goddamn movie.
And I just have to stick it in. But you know what? You guys are right. Mission Impossible 2 is my number 7. However, I will come out and say that I do like this movie. Okay. This movie was a lot higher in my list. Probably, I would say it danced very high in the top section for a little while. I watched this movie. Yeah. I would say it hit above top 5 at some point in my list creating thing.
I'm glad insanity subsided.
You know what? I get it, and I'm just different. Something about this movie, I just eat it up. Like the cars turning around and spinning and the slow music. Dude, I'm here for it. There's something about the villain. I just eat him up. I don't know everything about. And you know what? The Hans Zimmer score, the Limp Bizkit version of this, I played it yesterday twice. You know what I mean? So it's like this movie gets hate, and I know I'm going to get hate for it. And this movie could have gotten higher, but it landed here, and so I did good there.
Luis, if anything, you've given us.
If you put it on, I'm kind of having a good time.
I get it. It's like dumb fun. It's
very much dumb fun. And I will say the mask reveal that happens in the plane when you see is like, you're calling me Dimitri. You really shouldn't. Remember that? And he reveals the mask. I'm watching on my OLED screen. I'm like, that was done pretty well. Visual effects wise, that looked like it was really part of the skin. I don't know. Maybe I think it's because I watched it so like I said, it was one of the first DVDs. That means I rewatched it a ton of times. It was probably more nostalgic than it should be. But there are just images that are just burned in my head from this movie, from the finger being cut to them looking through the images on the camera to, the knife stunt, which is really done. You know what I mean? The climbing of the fucking mountainscape, just like the parallax of him there and then the mountainscape in the background. They filmed that multiple times. And when I rewatched it a couple days ago, I was like, man, that's pretty cool. I don't know. It's very cheesy. It's very of the time. It's very much of me when I was growing up as a kid. And learning about these bombastic ways of storytelling, and what did I do after this? I went and rewatched Broken Arrow and Face Off, both John Woo movies. I didn't see his other ones. I really should, but I wanted to see there were the 2 ones that happened before Mission Impossible 2. And just they're kind of they're doing all the things, you know what I mean? I feel like if you hate this is doing the same thing. I don't know.
Nah,
I think it's
it's
just
not
I'll
quite
have to
the
just.
same though.
I just feel like this cheese is over here. You know what I mean? I'm getting the same cheese on this side, but this one's loved. Anyway,
I feel like Mission 2 is where Fast and the Furious is now. Maybe in like
I mean, I'll tell you this right
tonally.
now. You put it on, and I'm not going to change it. So,
Fair enough.
All
You know,
right,
I
let's
want to
do
get
DVD.
drunk and high and watch it with you, Luis. I want to do that.
oh baby, I'll tell you all of my favorite moments, and
All right.
and then the final reveal where he's like, "I killed my friend." Oh, okay, let's move on. Okay,
It's
let's
a
talk about
date. It's
something
a
else.
date. All right, Benny, let's hit it off with number 7.
Perfect. You know, I think as you said, I think with time, number 2, because it's so of its time, can be, it's almost fascinating, like watching something in the zoo. Like you're just like, wow, look at what they did. There's some fun there. But number 7 is Dead Reckoning because of everything that's already been said. Like the problem with Dead Reckoning is that its best stunt was shown to everyone over and over and over and over and over and over.
100%.
Listen, there were cooler stunts in MI2. You know what I'm saying? So that's one.
Yeah, and then the final sequence feels like it's ripped from a video game that is one of my favorite video games. It's just
I've heard that.
The similarities, it's just like it's
Uncharted,
distracting.
right?
Yeah, Uncharted 2. The opening
okay.
sequence there, you kind of climb up, and it looks almost, you know, shot for shot in many ways. And because I think, you know, Mission Impossible 2 comes a bit lower for me because it still didn't feel like it knew what it was, and because it is a ranking of the franchise films, it just feels like such an outlier, and it didn't land. So that kind of, by default, just hits the bottom. But Dead Reckoning is just, unfortunately, it's just too much of a mess. So it just could not possibly be any higher.
Fair enough. Fair enough. To both of you.
Number 3. Okay, Ed, what's your number 7?
Okay, number 7. Oh man, I do feel a little guilty about this one because I came onto the earlier films a lot later. It's just, they alluded, like I said, I did not grow up watching these films. I did not seek them out. I was just thinking, we were talking about MI2. I remember we had the VHS for that when we first moved over here. We had like a handful of VHSs, and that one was there, and I never put it in. I just like, I don't want to watch it. That does not intrigue me. Even on the boring day, like before streaming and all of that, I was just like, I'm not going to watch it. But yeah, so equally, it did. I think it was you, Benny, who's like, one of you was like, it felt like an adult film at the time, but the original Mission Impossible film was like that grown up film. So yeah, I've got the first one as my my number 7.
I think
just because
that's fair too.
Again, also of its time, but I feel like I never, every time I watch it, I just don't click with it. You know, I just like, I don't feel the urgency with the story. Like the opening section where they, you know, the team gets betrayed and, you know, members start dying, you know, that's intriguing and all of that. And like, but it's just like, after that, it just kind of loses me. I'm not fully, you know, it builds up to that big vault sequence, you know, the famous suspension, and, you know, Jean Reno showing up in every fucking movie of the 90s as that guy. But like, yeah, it doesn't, and I don't really care for the final action sequence either, because obviously, you know, CGI was still being in its early days, and yeah, it just didn't strike me as a very, you know, it's not my first go-to, and I think it's fine, but I just don't have that affection for it that I do with some of the later films. And I think that's just my relationship with the movie. I'm sure that people have better opinions of it, obviously, as the original. But yeah, I couldn't get it out of those bottom two.
It's a hard. It's hard. This is a hard
Yeah.
list for me.
And
It's
I
just
rewatched it this
and then
time.
this, and then
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And it just nothing screams out. Like when one of the biggest stunts is him throwing gum on the fish tank and running away from it.
Yeah, but it looked pretty cool, didn't it?
Yeah, oh, it looks great. It looks great. Brian De Palma. I do like Brian De Palma as a director. He's he has that kind of. It gives it that kind of noir feeling. That moody espionage. But yeah, it just didn't click with me, and it still doesn't. And I've seen it maybe like 3 or 4 times now since falling in love with the franchise. But yeah, it doesn't rise above some of the others for me, obviously. So, Luis, take it away with Mission 6.
Mission 6. Okay. Yeah, Mission 6 is going to be a movie that we talked about earlier. It's going to be Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning is MI8.
All right.
My number 6.
I like it. Anything to add to that?
Nope. I think that's we've talked
right
about
above
it
2, huh?
2 could have beat 8. There's a time when 2 is beating 8. All right, I'm not gonna lie about that one either.
This would have been a whole different podcast. Let me tell you.
I would have respected if you'd committed to that choice.
I know.
I would have given you shit for it, but I would have respected.
I know. Imagine if it was my number 2. What would have happened then? You guys would have been waiting and waiting.
Honestly, I would be like, explain yourself. I cannot wait to hear.
Oh, okay. Mission Impossible number 8. My number 6.
All right,
my number 6 is also Final Reckoning.
Okay.
And for all the same reasons, I think it suffers from all the problems that Dead Reckoning suffered from, but it has way better stunts. It's like the story I cannot give it credit for because it's trying to pull off too much. The teams aren't as strong, but the stunts are spectacular, and it has just some real big highlights that just put it over the top of Dead Reckoning.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. I will mix it up a little bit. So I guess you could say this is kind of like my first foray into Mission Impossible. I didn't see it in theaters, but I was still in that phase of I don't care about Mission Impossible. But I think I watched it at like a friend's house or something. And I thought it was fine. Still very much a movie of its time. And that is going to be MI3 by none other than J.J. Abrams. I remember watching it, and I remember people saying at the time, it's like, oh, yeah, like he really kind of revitalized the franchise, which I definitely agree with after seeing 2. And it does actually, I don't have like a lot of bad things to say about it. I enjoy it. I think that it's probably like Tom Cruise's best performance of the franchise, maybe.
Well, I have a question. Did you see that? Was this your first? Sorry, you might have said this, but was this your first Mission Impossible movie you've ever seen?
Yes.
Okay.
But not in theaters, if that matters. But it's the experience, right? And I just felt like my thing, I guess, with this movie is that whilst there is like a lot of drama going on, and I think like Philip Seymour Hoffman is good, but I feel like his character is very one-dimensional. Like he's just evil bad guy who will actually just kill your girlfriend. But and they have a lot of fun, like in the Vatican and stuff like that.
Right.
I just think it kind of loses, or if anything, the momentum of it all just feels very one-noted throughout. Like I never felt a moment of like heightened whatever, especially like leading to the final act. Like I do, I like the little brain ticker thing. I love the little shot of him running across the bridge and then the explosion sending him right into the car. That's a great shot. I love the the lip reading element. Little bits and bobs, but the overall film just doesn't quite reach the heights of some of the others. I'm sure we'll talk
yeah.
more about it, but yeah. And I mean, what would you finger point as the big stunt in that one? I'm just curious because
that's always the biggest thing about that movie is what is considered the big stunt.
Yeah,
because
is it the jumping
really
off the building, which it is like that's pretty cool. Like it's a cool swing and stuff like that, but everything it happens pretty rapidly before it's thrown back in, and then like you got like Philip Seymour Hoffman beating. Oh, and Tom Cruise, he's doing the elbow fighting thing, which always kind of bothered me. I was just like, this guy had the jump on you from the get-go, and somehow you're beating him now with your elbows. I'm going to knock you out this way. And yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a solid film, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah, no, I think it's always funny to see those DVD covers of like all the stunts between each thing because it's like very clear. Mission Impossible 1, The Wire, all these things.
Right.
And then I look at 3 and I'm like, wait, what is it actually? I think it's just him running, or I feel like there was a story going on like
this
is the longest run he ever had in like one take. And he was just like running through all these like people and stuff like that.
Through at the end when he's trying to find the house. Yeah. Okay. And it was intro to Simon Pegg too, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that I remember feeling at that time too. It was like, oh, okay, so fucking Shaun of the Dead was a huge success. So he's going to start popping up as side characters in all of these. But little did I know he was going to stay with the franchise.
It's kind of surprising how long he stayed throughout the whole thing. Like,
I'm so glad, though. I mean, they really did find their stride. You go through all the teams in all the movies, and you're kind of glad some of them got left behind. Maybe.
Oh man. All right. So my number 5 is going to be. Is this number 5 in the franchise?
Yeah, number 5. Yeah. Oh.
I think it is. Okay. My number 5 is. Okay. I rewatched this movie and I feel like I'm going to keep liking it more and more. But as of right now, I'm putting Rogue Nation here.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. I think this movie is like really well done. I just for some reason it doesn't hook me. I think we're just like, I think there's a lot of like background spy stuff that's happening that's pretty cool that I'm starting to appreciate the more and more I watch it. I don't like the underwater scene where he's like trying to pull the thing out. That just feels very fake to me. And so as far as like a big stunt goes, the big stunt is him holding onto the plane and we kind of like
they blew that out in the first 5 minutes.
At the very first few minutes. And then it's like, okay, well now what am I looking forward to? We have a very tense moment in the opera house. I like how we're bringing Benji back and how he's like sneaking around. But I didn't like the big final, like it's basically him doing the Mission Impossible 1 stunt, but just underwater. You know what I mean? He in the first one, he has to get the knock list. He has to get all this information in this crazy like hidden facility. And this one's almost the same thing where he's diving down and then he has to grab it. But I feel like Rogue Nation for me even got higher in this list. I think at some point it was like 3 or whatever. Like I can find myself appreciating this movie. Honestly, we got to do this again next year because who knows where all these are going to land.
How many times have you seen it, Luis?
Rogue Nation?
Yeah, just curious, like roughly.
Probably
did you see it in theaters when it came out?
I saw it in theaters, yeah. Okay, I thought it was that was a very cool like opening.
Yeah.
Which caught me off guard when he's like in the album store and then he gets trapped and he's banging and then he killed the girl that's in there. I'm like, wow, what a great ending. I think I've seen like a handful of times, like at least 5 times or something.
All right. Cool.
All right.
I'll come back to that later. All right. Benny, what's your number 5?
Number 5 is the first one, Mission Impossible.
Oh, okay.
I think especially from 5 all the way down to 8, these are the movies that I don't have, I would say, like any love for. There's movies I appreciate on different levels. And the Mission Impossible one, it falls to 5 because I think it is a pretty confident film. I think the story-wise, it holds together. And you can't deny that it's like, when you think of the iconic things, you think of just the iconic imagery of the franchise. You think of the CIA break-in. You think of that final helicopter explosion where he goes onto the train, You think of the tank exploding and him running away from it in slow motion. it built something. It set something in motion that, you know, I have, because the next four films that we'll talk about, especially in my ranking, I love those films.
Mhm.
I love them.
Yeah.
And the fact that if without one we wouldn't have got them, that I think it gets kind of top billing out of the ones I don't really have a ton of love for.
Fair enough.
Man, this whole list. What do you think, huh?
What a list. All right. Well, coming in with my number 5, you guys have mentioned it already, but you know, and this might alter upon repeated viewings. But as of now, I'm fairly comfortable with putting The Final Reckoning at number 5 for me. Like, obviously, you've got the big wow factor of the 2 big stunts, which are still like embedded in my mind. I just like can't wait to see them again, if only for those, you know. But I do look forward to exploring the movie again and seeing it with tempered expectations, which either can make or break a movie. But you know, for what it was, you know, still a fun time, a good closeout, and good old fashioned summer entertainment in the most like self-serious way. But yeah, no, that's for now. I'm happy with it right there.
All right.
So number 4.
My turn. Okay, number 4. See, we're already halfway through. Rogue Nation could have been higher, 1,000%.
Yeah, I will say at this point, Luis, I feel confident that like anything you say will not be
Horrible.
It can't shake me now. Like it's all good. It's all good from here, baby.
It's all gravy, baby. Yeah, I know.
Take a breath.
This whole list could have been crazy. So yeah, now we're here. My number 4. You know, I've seen this, I guess, franchise a lot, and I have problems with this movie sometimes. I feel like there are plot problems. I'm like, well, how did that happen? I don't think that it works that way. I don't think some of the effects are really great, but I love the visuals of it. It's clean. It's the first Mission Impossible. It's, for me, the way it starts, it really needs to warm up to me. I think once we get to the kind of the aquarium set, or maybe when everyone starts dying off, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to warm up. The aquarium scene, I'm really getting into it. Obviously, once we go to the, what's it called, breaking in scene, I just think the way that, you know, we get inundated with a lot of like fast cuts and a lot of like, you know, shaky cams and angles that are just moving everywhere. And it's nice for just someone to have a frame for it to sit there. And like, speaking on a visual standpoint, it's nice and contrasty and like sharp and colorful. And a lot of movies we get sometimes are like flat and all the lights like very faint and dimly lit. Like, I'm starting to appreciate this like hard backlights. You know, I just like this clean, rich color look, and it just delivers it on that. Like, I'm even thinking of shots just like when she's throwing little poison of her pen into the coffee, like the way that it's like framed with a blur effect on it. Like, it's just, I really kind of like the visuals of it, even though sometimes like the face effects look terrible, you know what I mean? Or like how he finds that email to get Job makes no fucking sense. You know what I mean? Like, that part always irritates me. He's like, I'm just going to email this thing every day. But yeah, Mission Impossible, number 1, my number 4.
There you go, Benny.
Nice choice. For me, my number 4 is Ghost Protocol.
Ooh.
I think for me, what an incredible stunt. Like, and I loved hearing the story about, like, you know, how it came to be. Like, I know the original Burj Khalifa, they were having trouble with the dialogue, and that's when Christopher McQuarrie first came on board.
Right.
You know, Tom brought him in. They're like, this guy, he's going to help us get through this scene. And he literally got there, and he tells the story that they were having trouble, like, well, how do we communicate what the gloves do? And he's like, oh, blue is glue, red is dead. Like, that came from Christopher McQuarrie. And they're like, great, now you just go into the other room and write the rest of this whole sequence. But I'm just not a fan of the villain, unfortunately. I don't.
Yeah.
I think the performance is pretty weak. And so it just falls down on that element. But everything else, I think, is really interesting. Brad Bird being the director, I think he's got such an interesting take, because I'd only really known him as an animation director.
Yeah.
So seeing this at like live action, I think he definitely brings something kind of unique, but it just doesn't fully hold together by the end for me.
Yeah,
but I love the experience of watching it, and that's why it's my number 4.
Lovely. All right. Well, my number 4, guys. You can't have a final reckoning without a dead reckoning, and that's where what I felt so comfortable with when I was putting this together was just like I feel like they are both together, as we mentioned, a strong whole. And I feel like landing right smack dab in the middle of my list is the perfect way to put it in there. I did enjoy Dead Reckoning the more and more I saw it. I do agree, actually, with most of your grievances with him. Like, it does have those issues. For me, it is just saved by, I guess, it does still have that Mission Impossible feel, that caper feel. I never played Uncharted, so I don't give a fuck if it looks the same or feels the same. So that was not a hindrance to me. I was enjoying it with fresh eyes, baby. But no, I mean, I feel like you could feel the struggles that they had going through the pandemic. And they just kind of had to adjust, and that's why it feels like a little overloaded. Like I said, it bothers the Ilsa's death still bothers me, not just because I lost a favorite character. I think the motivation of it just bothered me too. But it did also give us that Rome car chase, which just every time I see it, it's so fun. It's like definitely one of the best chase sequences of the franchise. But I did enjoy the airport bit. I did enjoy Benji reckoning with his own his own problems whilst trying to disarm a fake nuclear bomb. Yeah, we got Shea Wiggum. I didn't need that, but I also got Pom Clemente, which just kind of, I don't know. It was like being a kid again and seeing the Pink Power Ranger for the first time. I was just like, oh, hello. Because not seeing her as an alien in Guardians was quite something. And I loved her just her ferocity in that film. It's contagious. You just you could tell she's having such a great time with it. And I enjoy her little face-off with Tom in the little alleyway, even though I'm not totally on board with everything else that's going on around it. But and then, like I said, the train sequence I do feel like drags out. It has its moments, but I think altogether it works. And yeah, I enjoyed it. And like I said, it's one of those that kind of climbed back up the more I saw it.
Right.
But it's still a good time. It still had that kind of urgency about it, whereas like Final Reckoning definitely felt like it was like, we gotta catch up on all of this information real quick. So yeah, but there you go. I'm sorry I had to say it, but Dead Reckoning is my number 4.
Man, I love this list. Okay, number 3. Here we go.
All right,
my number 3. Obviously, I think we've already talked about. But man, when you turn this thing on, you're like, wow, we're in it right now. Like this guy it's intense. He is on one, and this is one of the villains that I actually really like in this franchise. Which sometimes it's kind of hard to get a good villain on some of these movies. You might see
it really is. Well, a memorable one anyway. Yeah,
memorable ones. But this one, I was like, yes. And I'm talking about Mission Impossible 3. I want to talk about before I talk about Mission Impossible 3, I want to go back and actually talk about Mission Impossible 2.
Jesus,
hold on, for a reason. Okay, Mission Impossible 2 is like, okay, for all these missions, Ethan Hunt really is saving people, right? He's like death defying. Shit is serious and real. Mission Impossible 2 is Ethan Hunt in his college years. No big deal. We're out here having fun. We're on the rocks. Like, no real sweat at all. I'm just like hanging out, dating whoever I want. We're saving people, got long hair. Like, that's Ethan Hunt, no worries. Peak. Oh, life's fine. Mission Impossible 3, shit gets real because he finds love and he wants to abandon all that. And now in the past movie, he was a free-for-all. He's a spy. He's having fun. But now he's like, no, I'm grown up. I moved on. I'm with this woman that I love. And out of all the movies, I feel like this one is that one that at least has a kind of an arc to it where he's like, this is my life. This is where I belong. And then he realizes that he can't have that anymore, that his true self doesn't let him do that. So he has to go back and become Tom Cruise or Ethan Hunt. A lot of his movies is like, he's Ethan Hunt and he perseveres and he just gets the job done. And I love it. But this is the one where it's like, yeah, he's going through some turmoil, some change about his identity. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is super great. It doesn't have those memorable action sequences. And it just kind of meanders sometimes from place to place. But I think the intensity is great. And yeah, does feel of the time of like 2005, especially that party scene. I'm like, ooh, this feels very old.
Oh man, I just remembered because we mentioned
Aaron Paul's in it too.
Mm-hmm.
He is. I realized that this time watching it. But yeah, we were talking about silly villain deaths. I just remembered that he just gets hit by a fucking van or something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He just he gets
Didn't
elbowed
he, look
out
up or
the
something?
door.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's right. He was on top of them, and then the van comes and. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I digress.
What a anticlimactic death for this guy, especially he was
after his intensity. I will say I do really love that opening, and that's why I was saying about I think it's Tom Cruise's best performance in the franchise because you're right. He does have that it's about maturity.
The countdown when he's counting down from 1 to 10, all the tactics that Ethan Hunt does to communicate, dude.
Yeah, threats, bargaining, all of it. It's just it hits. Yeah, it definitely hits.
And I love it when they finally catch him. There's that part where they're trying to get the voice in time, and so they have to distract. But then there's also the part where they're in the plane, and he's like, "Oh, I'm coming after you," and you're like, "Damn, this is scary. How is he?" And then you see it all, like the Dark Knight with the Joker comes out and all that stuff. Okay, Mission Impossible 3. My number 3, Benny.
My number 3 is Mission Impossible 3 too. Oh! This was when I said to myself, do I like Mission Impossible? Well, I think I might love Mission Impossible. I hope I get more of Mission Impossibles like this movie. And it does really set the stage of what the series becomes after that. It is that what's the big stunt? And although this one doesn't have something that sets it up as far as they end up going, what they because the building one was their big stunt. That was kind of what they bet all their money on. But then the trailer shot is that plane explosion that gets thrown back. Yeah. Even though he gets thrown the wrong direction, it still looks fantastic. The explosion's behind him and he goes sideways.
Sideways, yeah.
It looks like, mwah. But, this is where we see, he really has to sacrifice his own life, his own happiness.
Yeah.
For the good of the world.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's just that egotistical that the world can't survive without him. But then obviously Simon Pegg is introduced here, and I think I was on a high from Shaun of the Dead. That is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was in this, I was like, oh, that's great. He's coming up, Hollywood star. This is great. So I was buying into everything, and it was just one of the most fun theatrical experiences I've ever had. And so that memory just lives on. And although I don't think it's one of the strongest of the franchise story, I do think you could argue that Philip Seymour Hoffman is the best villain we've ever got, just performance-wise, not necessarily motivation-wise, but performance-wise. That sequence there, tete-a-tete, back and forward, is so compelling and scary, and him just counting down and watching Tom Cruise have to change the way he's negotiating to then just relent. Oh my God.
It's that type of stuff that moved it up. I was like, he's a great villain, and so.
No, absolutely. yeah, he brings such an intensity to it that's almost outside of the franchise. You know what I mean? It's just like it begs for better writing, a bigger, broader character. You know, if he had been like a villain that did like Solomon Lane, like he comes back in another movie. Obviously that's not the route they went, but yeah, he definitely would have earned that, right? You know what I mean? It's like, unlike Gabriel, who came back and just like, ah, man, you're just still not it. But yeah,
there's a brutality to Mission Impossible 3 for Ethan Hunt.
Yeah,
the fact that okay, so he's trying to leave, but now he's got his new wife, and
then
he's brought back in to save Kerry Russell, the student that he taught. And loses her in such a brutal way where her eye goes.
Yeah,
that shocked me. That I was shook when I saw that. I was like, "What?" Like I didn't feel right. But they did such a good job of illustrating that, just like slight little.
The fact that it went off, and that is what shook Ethan Hunt to realize that he can never, if he wants to keep the people near him safe, he has to distance himself. And that's where I'm like, and then you get to see the sequence of after the intro. When you go back to the sequence and you see it all play out, and he kills the wife, and just see his heart just absolute sunk, and then you get that fun reveal of the face pull, and you're like, oh, they used it in the top. Yes. I was very, very excited. So I would say this doesn't
making me
get
feel
all the beats
bad
right
about my placement of it.
This is the internal struggle I had. I felt bad about putting like Rogue Nation so below. I'm like, oh, I wish everything changes, like moves around here. But Mission Impossible 3 also, I feel like, is the beginning when you see who Ethan Hunt is. He's like, I never leave anybody behind, after that experience. Which, in contrast to Mission Impossible 2, he was living his college years, so it's like kind of like you see a lot of growth. He wasn't always the same person, So.
Yeah. What was his GPA, by the way?
I think another problem issue, if you can even call it that, it's just like I didn't find the rest of the team that engaging.
I agree. I think that's one of the weaker things. Yeah, they feel like guest stars, just kind of
exactly
1,000%. Yeah,
it was still definitely of that. Like that was or at least that seemed to be the pattern. He was going to have kind of like a new team every time. Ving Rhames, for whatever reason, kept coming back, but like, yeah, it's just like, who's hot right now, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, they weren't as engaging, and you didn't feel like. I'm like I said, I'm glad Simon Pegg carried on, and seeing his character grow throughout the franchise was probably the most rewarding thing from that.
Yeah.
All right, my number 3. Benny's mentioned it. And this was my first theatrical intro, and it wasn't even my intention to see it. I saw it because it had the prologue into The Dark Knight Rises in front of the IMAX screening, and that is Ghost Protocol. So, I saw it on the IMAX, which was awesome. It was like my first, one of my first, big proper IMAX experiences that felt insane. And I think at the time I felt like the stunt dwarfed the rest of the movie, but at that point I wasn't that much of a Mission Impossible fan either, so I didn't really I was going off of maybe MI3, but that's about it, and it did feel different from that as it was. So but yeah, I mean, that stunt scene is great. But what I love about this film, and going back to it again and again, is that it's so much fun. Brad Bird really brings that kind of, I wouldn't say campiness, but that just kind of that fun, humor, eccentric, lightness. Just from the opening, Prison Break, where you've got Dean Martin playing whilst he all the Russian guards breaking out. Exactly. We start with the Benji in the ear, and then you've got the. I've really enjoyed the parking garage fight. It's pretty brutal. It's a pretty brutal fight, and the fact that it ends with the villain killing himself to get away from Ethan it's pretty
But then
gnarly.
he stays awake for a little bit just to see himself fail.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like clips,
but
and then he's like, oh.
It's like Brad Bird knew the tone, like just
yeah,
perfectly, and yeah, just has fun with it. And I mean, let's talk about that big stunt. It is breathtaking. It is, as somebody who struggles with heights, that was a tough scene to watch, like in the theater on the IMAX. And I mean, it still holds up even on the smaller screen when he swings down and then hits the top side of the window. Yeah, you're just like, oh god. But yeah, it really has fun. You got like Benji being the, you know, the comic relief, you know, but yeah, it's just.
I
such
always
a
love
fun
how
time.
he's like, yeah, Ethan will just like jump out the window, go over there, climb it.
Yeah. Oh, the break into the Kremlin, you know, like that's fun too.
That's really fun. Like it's using that technology and then the way it's. I love that. I mean, I'll spoil it now. It's my number 2. Mission Impossible 4. So
yeah, well, there's only so many movies that are gonna be here.
I know, so I guess you can see where I'm going here. But like, yeah, Mission Impossible 4, same thing. I think out of there's a lot of great action sequences that happen in this franchise. Some that are like, whoa, how do you do that? But for some reason, Brad Bird was able to capture this with such scope and the right distance and perspective to like make me feel fear in the way that he was doing. And maybe it's because he has these like really great wide shots where I can see him swinging. And sometimes when we're doing the airplane stuff, like it looks really cool because we're like on the side, but it's just hard to capture plane stuff and to feel that fear except like at the face. But this was fantastic. I think you're right. These next 2 movies that I'm about to say, I think tone wise, I love them. I think they are able to get the balance of fun, but also like we're in danger. The only problem with this movie again is the villain is very kind of like, very silly. Like I just want to see, you know, change the world or
he's a maniacal nuclear, you know, what a advocate or
right. So that was the only disappointing thing about it. And but as I was putting this list together, I was like, yeah, but it's so fun, and I like the introduction of the whole situation. What's it, Lea Seydoux? Yeah, like her opening scene, she's just like walking straight and shoots that person. Like I don't know, it's just like everything's framed and it looks cool and fun.
Her death getting kicked off.
And what's her name? That agent who kicks her. It's a shame she didn't come back. I felt like she was like, oh, we have someone in the team now.
They were priming her. Yeah,
I liked her.
And also our introduction to Jeremy Renner's character too, Brent or whatever. Which it's all good. It's all good. And then we get a bit of thing at the end. Yeah,
it's a fun one. That's going to be my number 2.
All right, Benny.
My number 2 is Rogue Nation.
Okay, I feel like
I'll go ahead and just, you know, spoiler alert, mine's Rogue Nation too.
I had a feeling. I've been pre-predicting all of your votes here as you were going. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I love this movie. This is kind of where it was just kept ramping up, you know, from number 3 to Ghost Protocol, and then Rogue Nation. I love Solomon Lane as a villain. Yeah. I love the opening. I love how he like smokes him in the record store, and I love how the parallel comes back towards the end, and the way the trick kind of plays out. I love the bike sequence. I love the team dynamics, and I don't think it has necessarily the flashiness of the biggest stunts that we've gotten.
Right.
But boy, oh boy, do I love that. I mean, I just say that, but then that plane sequence, him holding on to the side, not only, I mean, we got the biplane sequence in the last one, but that holding on to the jumbo jet as it took off and feeling the force and the power. And then
you see how high he is? You see him, he's like, oh my God, he's very high. Like you can see.
And he's like, wrong door. And then he landing.
And then he slides in, and if the other back door wasn't open, he'd be okay. But then he almost slides back out of the
oh my God. And then we get Ilsa Faust for the first time.
What a leg.
I know.
It is
that
just
is a memorable shot. You know what I mean?
It is. You know exactly what I was talking about when I said.
Yeah.
So,
and I think this one. I think generally, like Rogue Nation probably won't be number 2 on most lists, but I think story-wise,
Yeah.
it's kind of just really tight. It's maybe the most competent in regards to, because it is a little bit more complex. I know, obviously, we all know now what our number one's going to be, and I think that operates on a more simple story, and it knocks it out of the park. But what this balances and what it gets right, I kind of want to just shut my laptop and go watch it again. Like even talking about it, I'm just Rogue Nation, and then there was like something. I'm not going to get into it necessarily, but I was like, had best time in the movie theater. Then I went and bought it, when it came out, and then I had a very personal thing happen while I watched the second time, and it was Chef's Kiss. Chef's Kiss. Anyway,
I had like interesting experience with Rogue Nation, because when I saw it in theaters, being the second one that I went out and saw, because people were buzzing about it when it did come out, they were talking about the big stunt, how he was holding his breath. I felt underwhelmed by the whole thing. I was just like, okay, the opening is cool, but the fish tank, for lack of a better word, did feel fake. At least the way they were hyping it up is just like, oh, Tom Cruise held his breath for such and such.
I do remember that, yeah.
But it's all like chopped up. You wouldn't fucking know it. It's definitely been one of those movies. The more I've seen it, the more I've grown to appreciate it, and ultimately I love it now.
Yeah.
I do the opening and the fish tank sequence is really cool, because whenever there are like people holding their breath sequences, I like to try and hold my breath along with it. I don't even get into the fucking tank, I tell you that. I just like I have to breathe before he even gets down there. But like, yes, the bike chase sequence is intense. The BMW spin in the alleyway, knocking out those motorcycles, is just so fucking cool. And Tom Cruise, after having like come back from the dead, he tries to slide across the BMW and falls on the other side. There's just like so many great little notes, and like you said, the relationship with the team, you start to feel it a whole lot more as this went on. And then like with the addition of Ilsa, who was like, it wasn't just like a love interest. She was like Ethan's peer, from a different agency or whatever. And then I really like, you've got all the big action stuff happening, but I like that the end is kind of like a more like restrained action chase, foot chase. But that table standoff where they've got Simon Pegg hooked up to the bomb, and he's talking to Solomon Lane through Benji, and then that whole thing, how that escalates, and how Ethan gets out of that and tells Elsa to shoot him if anybody comes near him. It's just like the way they raise the stakes without having to do the big stuff. I really respect. And like you said, I've like Solomon Lane. We were talking about Philip Seymour Hoffman, but I think he's up there obviously as one of the better villains of the franchise for sure. Obviously, they brought him back for the second time, but yeah, it was a movie that I grew to love. But on first seeing, I wasn't a huge fan of it, to be honest, and it took me a while to come. I think a couple of years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I would have had it way lower on the list for sure.
One thing before, as we get ready to move to our number one, I'll say that Alec Baldwin has one of the most superlative like speeches and descriptions of Ethan Hunt. He's Alec Baldwin, whatever you think of him, man, whether it be Glengarry Glen Ross or Rogue Nation, when he can say some outlandish things and really hit them home. And I just want to give that, just so everybody knows how he describes it, like Hunt is uniquely trained and highly motivated a specialist without equal, immune to any countermeasures. Like, okay. There is no secret he cannot extract, no security he cannot breach, no person he cannot become. He has most likely anticipated this very conversation and is waiting to strike in whatever direction we move. Sir Hunt is the living manifestation of destiny, and he has made you his mission. Holy shit. Like,
dude,
what dialogue?
I think that was what was missing in like Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning was just like that Alec Baldwin style of acting, because he has said it so eloquently that you just felt like taken care of. And I felt like in 7 and 8, they were just very ham-fisty and just matter of fact. I don't know. There wasn't really any.
Well, they were just like, well, how do you top that? You got to bring back Kittredge, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Kittredge is the equal. Yeah. But Alec Baldwin, fantastic.
So good.
Fallout.
I'm glad you mentioned that speech.
Yeah. Number 1, baby.
How could it be anything else? How could it be anything
This was the
else?
easiest one. When we did the ranking, I was like, boop, that's the first thing I'm going to put. Everything else was...
I mean, Benny, Luis will tell you, I harp on about this movie all the time. It's like one of the best action films of all time, but it is hands down the best mission. But God, I love watching it. I watched it so many times leading up to Dead Reckoning, but I think it hurt Dead Reckoning. But it's a flawless film in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, there is no argument here that, as you said, like, no, it's number 1 because it is one of the greatest action movies of all time, and yet it's operating on this very improvisational vibe that just is working, and there's this heartbeat to it, and you're on the edge of your seat the whole time, and he has this comparable hulking counter in Henry Cavill. And it's just like every action sequence hits and you feel something.
Like that bathroom scene is so fantastic because we're not cutting around. I love how, again, I guess I love wides, but you see how you get to see a wide and you see it's kinetic because it's moving around and following the action appropriately. Such a well-framed fight, composed and edited even. Like everything about it just sings because it gives me time to see what's happening. And even in that like camera hold, it's intense and random and crazy, and the camera movements assisting it. It's just, I love that.
You feel every blow in that fight.
You
feel every kick and every blow. And Tom, my buddy Tom, like he's talked about how like some of those kicks to the stomach actually landed, but he knew it was going to land, but he knew where the camera was, so he took it and went with it, and you know. I mean, just look at it. It's there on screen. The pump, the good old pump of the Cavill arms. Oh my God, those guns, dude. I will say this, like in that sequence, it also has like my least favorite part of the whole movie is just the assumption that every French man goes out of the bathroom singing La Vie en Rose. You know, I'm just like, fuck off. Like, that's the wankiest thing anybody ever suggested, but like whatever, I moved past it because it is the greatest, like one of the greatest fight sequences in cinema. Like it's so good, so rapid, it escalates so quickly, and you just, it's believable. Like you feel it, like you believe that guy took down Henry Cavill, who is a unit in this film.
And Henry Cavill's reaction when he gets punched in the throat is very good. When he's like his eyes almost like pop out, like and then we get to meet Vanessa Kirby too. You know, tight upper lip Brit woman number 2. When I saw her in this movie, I was like, she's a star. And then ever since then, she's been in like all these movies.
She's a star. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Benny.
I was like, let's not forget, like Tom Cruise broke his foot for this movie. Like,
on
the roof, and like that's the shot they use. I saw this 5 times in the theaters. I was just like, I think it was like IMAX 3 times, Dolby once. I think this was in the era of Movie Pass, where it's just like I'm just using it as much as I can. There is nothing I really don't love about this movie the kind of the truck heisty element of it almost feels very Nolan-esque in the way the anticipation builds.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
But it has that, and then it has like a touch of like Western fast draw whenever they're trying to get out of that garage and they find the the traffic cop there, and then he shoots those three guys. Oh man! Like put Tom Cruise in a fucking Western, please. But that, and then the helicopter chase, that whole countdown sequence, just and you talk about like all the other stunts and the halo jump wasn't even the most exciting thing in the entire movie, but the helicopter sequence just like had me on the edge of my seat when he like climbs up the rope and then falls that first time. Oh my god. Whew. I just remember leaving that screening, and I only saw it once in theaters, and I hate that, but I was exhausted. I was just like physically drained because I was just tense the entire time. And it ends so perfectly. It doesn't draw it out. It just like they're still on site.
This is like
still
a movie on its own. Like it's like it tells the story beginning to end. Like it just has everything that you need.
It has the intention, like all the details fall into place. It really, and you get like we were talking about Alec Baldwin. He gets like a brutal little death, but also gets to partake a little bit, which is also fun. He gets a few blows in at Henry Cavill. But no, it's so, and then you get Solomon Lane back. And what about that shot in the overturning truck in the water? I mean, so another sequence where you try and hold your breath and see if you can hold it as long as he does. No.
There's a lot of cool, quiet moments in this movie, too, where it's like, there's no dialogue. It's just music being played over like a moment or visual. Like when Tom Cruise is seeing what the robbery scene's going to be like, it just kind of plays quietly with just music underneath it. It's just very like solemn and quiet. It's like, all right, we're taking a moment now. We're pausing on this momentum just to sit here with this. Like, oh, I feel like I'm entering into another movie in the good way. Like you're giving me flavor, and there's just a lot of variety of storytelling that's happening as you're going from moment to moment. Whether it's like, I don't know, action sequence to these quiet montages to like the Alec Baldwin trickery thing. Like when you think that Alec Baldwin is with Henry Cavill side, and then he turns around and then they do the face swap of what's his name. I just want to watch this right now.
And you get that the Wolf Blitzer fake out little moment as well, which is so fun. And then they bring back Michelle Monaghan as Julia, as they're like
that was cool.
Tying it in. But cool. It's like tying it into that personal touch for him.
And it wasn't a throwaway either. It was, it wasn't like a cameo or whatever.
It's Fallout.
It's Fallout. It's Fallout.
Perfect movie, maybe.
I'm bummed because like I thought this was my one opportunity to get Miguel on board to finally, if anything, just watch Fallout.
Yeah.
But alas, I don't think he made it. But
I think he just needs to watch this movie. You know what I mean? Like
just watch the movie because
watch Fallout.
It can stand alone. You don't have to watch the others in order to like. Even if you didn't see Rogue Nation, I think they give you enough sense of who everybody is and what they're going for. That's all you need. But okay. Real quick fire questions so we can wrap this up. I know it's getting late. It's later for me. Just keep that in mind. All right. Let's throw out, if we had to pick one, what is the stunt of the franchise for you? Luis, you go.
Honestly, the one that kicks off, honestly, is the Ghost Protocol. For some reason, that one's just so like visually stunning to me, how he swings around and then the height of it all. Yes, the helicopter, they're all incredible. There's so many riches, right? But I feel like it's tangible, and I feel fear in that scene. So I guess
100%.
it would be that one.
Benny.
God, yeah, it's really hard to do these like in quick fire. I think.
But also
I
for
think
fun.
even though it doesn't appear in the top choices, I think the Burj Khalifa is such an incredible sequence.
Yeah.
And I love the Blue Goo, Red's Dead, and the anticipation that builds, and just the sheer heights that it goes to. I think everything else that we see in the franchise, obviously there's amazing stunts across the board, but that stunt felt like it took the Mission Impossible franchise broadly to another level.
Yeah.
So the expectations following that were always like, what's the next big thing? That nobody was saying that after Mission Impossible 3. It was Ghost Protocol that set that in motion. So
and then
I'll give it to the
when most people do refer to either the franchise or that movie, it's that moment.
Exactly.
Usually. Like, yeah. All right. I probably have to be the same. Like, I love the Sevastopol dive, but, you know, it's a little bit more contained. Like you said, it did feel like that moment when he steps out onto that ledge and looks down.
The way that the camera swings over really gives you perspective and out. Like they took out windows and panes so that they can get this in the right place, and you feel it. Like I think that was done. Like that initial reveal, and it's just so good.
I'm shivering on behalf of the crew members that must have worked on it, who have to take out the glass. I'm like,
hearing the suction of the air going out.
They had a thing where it's like, if you're entering into this red zone, you need to clip up because you're too close to the windows. Just like they had to create new protocols for this, and those windows were never meant to. Yeah, those windows were never meant to be pulled out, and they find a way. I know this isn't an action sequence, but let me tell you, in Rogue Nation, when Tom Cruise is tied up on that pole.
Yes.
Oh,
and
the
jump
that
thing.
Yeah.
It's an out of nowhere stunt. It's like one of those things that you don't even realize it's happening when it happens because you're caught up in the action. But when you go back and you watch that shit, you're just like, what the fuck? Did you just do? Like, why aren't people talking about that more? Like, if you put that on the poster, you're just like, oh my god.
I think that would like classify. You could ask the same question, like, "What's the best stunt?" But like, what's one of like the smallest moments that have the greatest impact? And you could put that in there.
Yeah,
100%.
I would say the smallest moment with the greatest cultural impact is the reloading of the arms in Fallout. It's it's like people know this. It's like people do that now. We all kind of do that when we're getting ready for something. Just load them up.
Yeah.
And we all wish we could rock a mustache as well as him too. We all agree what the best fight is, I think, right?
The bathroom scene.
Yeah. But here, this might stump us, or this might get some interesting answers. But what's our favorite chase? Foot or vehicle?
I think it's the for me it was yeah, I'm gonna have to go with it because actually I do like the car chase in Dead Reckoning.
The Fiat
what? As the best chase.
I mean, it's up there. It's up there for me.
Well, you know why? I think it just tells a lot of storytelling. It's like first, it's like he's handcuffed, so he can't normally drive. So you're already adding a limitation to him. Haley doesn't want to drive. So then Tom's trying to guide her, and then Tom drives, and just the way that it bounces back and forth, there's comedy that's imbued. They're trying to get somewhere. They're fighting between each other, and it just, you feel the tensity of the tension of that scene with their faces, especially the way that they slide. You can feel the hair moving, their face just leaning to the side. Everything about that, for me, tells a story. The other ones do, as far as like the chase goes, but it's kind of more straightforward. It's way more intense and it's way more thrilling. And look, they're all good. But if I had to pick one right now, I guess it would be the car chase. But it's equally impressive, that helicopter chase in Fallout, okay, and the biplane. Like,
I was gonna be like, I respect your choice, but here's why you're wrong. No, and I would say the helicopter chase. Although I'm a big fan of just the final chase in Rogue Nation for, just because of how small it is, and
right.
kind of the impact of it. But it'll lead me
wait.
into one of my other things,
sorry.
especially with the helicopter chase, is that one of the shots from the trailer, the final shot from the trailer that didn't make it into the final film, that's still one of the things I really, really want to see somewhere. I want that to be released. It's where the helicopter is flying towards the truck that starts to turn, and they cut that from the film because it changed the pacing of it. And I'm like, but they have that somewhere. Just show me what that looked like.
Yes. Can I tell you, I'm going to bounce off of that. Favorite trailer of the franchise is this one too, the Fallout one, where that song hits, and that trailer ends with him going like, right into like a truck or something, right?
Yeah. It was like, because the truck's like, trying to pull out, and it's just going straight towards the cab. Yeah. I would say trailer-wise,
my favorite trailer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd say trailer-wise, one of the ones that hit me was like the Ghost Protocol trailer. It had an Eminem track on it. It was just like the beat was really good. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited for this movie.
And that's when like Tom Cruise started doing the hoodie.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I do love the I'm gonna stand with Louise. I do love that Fiat chase. I do think it's on so many, like, just the more and more it builds, it's just brilliant. But I do think the helicopter chase takes the edge because, man, you're almost like you're right there next to Tom yelling at the helicopter, just like, come on, fucking hit it! Like everything he tries, like he tries to drop the payload on them.
Oh, I love that
work.
It fails. I love how he fails a lot, and then he recovers from it.
Exactly. Yeah, it just makes us all the more just like you get so frustrated. And then you got Henry Cavill whipping out that massive machine gun, and he's just like, "Oh shit!" And it's just like the tension is there. It's just
doesn't he also get into the helicopter? Be like, okay, that button does this does that. Okay, he's kind of like figuring it out as it goes, and he's just doing these death-defying feats on a helicopter. Just.
It's like slowly like falling apart. He's just like, come on, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Man, yeah, it's brilliant. All right, well, that was all I had to. I think you guys have said who your favorite villain is. We've said the favorite fight. Do we have a favorite team member?
I love Simon Pegg.
Yeah, Benji. Benji had some great moments in Final Reckoning. I will say that, like when he started passing out.
Yeah,
we try to give the instructions.
That is pretty good. Especially like, does any of you have medical experiences? Like, I kill people. I was like, well, that's good enough.
That's good.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to stab me here.
I've always, I guess, I've had a soft spot for Luther just because he's in pretty much all of them. So
right.
It's always like nice to see. He's like his one buddy who's like been with him since the beginning. So it's
like the only other guy who's like the same age as Tom, basically.
Yeah. But I also like that other agent in Ghost Protocol, the one who never came back. She was like,
oh yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you have a running scene here. I think that's fun.
Oh yeah. Okay, so like, when did Tom look best running?
Is it I like when he breaks his foot.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Is that the one where he throws a chair out the window and he's like, keep going? He's like, okay, I am jumping out of a window.
Yeah. I mean, that running chase scene through London is pretty spot on as well. I'm trying to think of the other ones.
Which one was the London one? Okay, I think I remember. Oh, okay.
That's Fallout, yeah.
Oh, what's the one where he's like, is he on top of a roof? I guess that was just.
Is that like Reckoning. 3 when he runs off the roof in 3?
Yeah.
I think, I think number 3 is where the run becomes a thing, because right when he's chasing him down, he has to like run through like the city, and he's not really chasing anybody. He's just going from point A to point B.
Right.
And that's kind of when it's like, Tom Cruise runs. He's very good at it.
And he speaks Cantonese all the while. He's like yelling at people to get out the way and shit.
Oh, this is what it was. I remember in Rogue Nation when he's running, like outside of do you remember when he's running in Rogue Nation? There's just like they hold a shot on him like forever as he's running. That doesn't matter. You can Google it. Okay. Mission Impossible. That was our ranking. That was our thoughts. Any last things we want to say before we wrap up? Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Mission accomplished. Oh yeah. Ghost Protocol, when he tries to hit that button and it doesn't go off right away, he's like, mission accomplished. Accomplished. I'm just like, oh man. I love it when they have fun with it.
Yeah, no, totally. And the fact that they can incorporate the names into the movies. Yeah. Just initiated Ghost Protocol, you know? The fallout is coming. Under the water, we've reached dead reckoning.
Well, I would say the thing that bothers me about the last film is like it comes from Briggs. It's like, we'll have our final reckoning. Like, boo!
Yeah.
Not you. You're not that important to this whole story.
Yeah, that's right.
And why are you even uttering those words like that? Like, go away. Nobody talks like that.
God. Don't point your gun at me. Just shake my hand.
All right. Well, that was Mission Impossible. Thank you guys for listening. Tune in next week. We're going to talk about potentially
Bring Her Back.
Bring Her Back.
That's the one movie I plan on seeing. I don't know if it's coming to Houston.
Oh.
Karate Kid Legends, anybody?
Oh, yeah.
No.
I heard it was a tight 90. Anyway, tune in next week and you'll find out what we're watching. But until then, it's been me, Luis Gonzalez, and with me has been
Ed Bull.
Do I get an introduction for this one? No.
Yes.
No, you have to say.
And Benny Watts. Hi, nice to see you. Good to see you. Benny Watts is so great. Anyway.
And until next time, later, Gators.
This pod will explode in 2 seconds.
2?
Yeah, 2. 1, 2.